Some people don't fear people. They fear being seen, not because they are weak, but because they are deeply aware. In a room full of voices, they hear everything, every tone, every pause, every shift in expression. Their mind doesn't rest, it monitors. Social anxiety isn't shyness. It's not introversion. It's a psychological state where awareness turns inward and never turns off. In a world that rewards visibility, confidence, and performance, those who feel too much learn to survive quietly. This is not a story about avoiding life. This is a story about navigating it silently. This is the psychology of people with social anxiety. People with social anxiety don't enter social spaces casually. They scan them. Who's looking? Who's listening? Who might be judging, even subconsciously? Their attention is always divided. Half in the world, half watching themselves exist inside it. Psychologically, this is called hyper-self-monitoring. The brain becomes both actor and audience. Every word is filtered before it's spoken. Every movement evaluated mid-motion. Every facial expression questioned after it happens. They are not relaxed in the moment. They are managing the moment. This level of awareness creates exhaustion, not physical tiredness, mental overload. In digital spaces, this intensifies. They don't scroll for entertainment. They scroll to learn how they're supposed to be, how confident people speak, how relaxed people joke, how normal people exist without thinking. And slowly, life stops feeling spontaneous and starts feeling observed. For most people, awareness is power. For them, awareness is weight. Judgment doesn't need to be spoken. For people with social anxiety, it's already assumed. A pause feels like disapproval. A neutral expression feels like rejection. Silence feels like criticism. This fear is not irrational. It is learned. Many grew up in environments where attention came only with correction. Mistakes were highlighted. Emotions were questioned. Presence felt conditional. So the nervous system learned a rule. Attention equals danger. Online culture amplifies this fear. Likes become validation. Views become worth. Silence becomes safety. Being unseen feels safer than being misunderstood. So they shrink themselves, not to disappear, but to avoid being exposed. They don't crave praise. They crave emotional safety. And safety for them lives in staying unnoticed. At some point they learn to perform, not for applause, but for survival. They rehearse conversations in their head. Practice facial expressions. Prepare responses that feel neutral enough to be safe. Slowly a split forms, who they are and who they present. This performance creates temporary relief, but long-term exhaustion. Online, the performance never ends. Every post feels like a risk. Every story feels like a declaration. Every silence feels like failure. They stop asking, "What do I feel?" Instead, they ask, "What version of me won't be judged?" Authenticity begins to feel dangerous. Performance begins to feel necessary. Life becomes a stage, with no backstage, no place to rest. Eventually, silence becomes strategy, not because they lack thoughts, but because expressing them costs too much. Silence prevents misunderstanding. Silence avoids judgment. Silence preserves emotional ownership. In a culture addicted to expression, choosing silence looks like weakness. But for people with social anxiety, silence is control. They are not disappearing. They are conserving. Every unspoken thought is energy saved. Every unshared emotion is protection maintained. Silence is not emptiness. It is shelter. Being watched is exhausting. Not physically, psychologically. People with social anxiety live in constant self-presentation. Even alone, they feel observed. Their nervous system never fully powers down. This creates burnout that doesn't come from doing too much, but from being perceived too long. Online presence becomes overwhelming. Offline interaction becomes draining. So they withdraw, not from people, but from perception. They don't want attention. They want relief. Eventually, something shifts. They stop chasing reassurance, not because they don't value connection, but because dependency hurts. They begin living privately, processing emotions internally, celebrating progress without witnesses. Unshared moments become sacred. Growth happens quietly. Psychologically, this builds an internal locus of control. Worth stops being negotiated externally. They don't feel louder. They feel steadier. For the first time, peace doesn't depend on being understood. But silence has a cost. When you hide long enough, you forget who you are without fear. Am I quiet? Or am I afraid? Am I private? Or am I invisible? People with social anxiety often lose access to spontaneity. They know how to adapt, but forget how to exist freely. This creates a quiet identity crisis. Not dramatic, just unresolved. They are present everywhere, but fully known nowhere. Social media promises connection, but delivers comparison. They watch others speak effortlessly, laugh freely, exist without fear, and silently wonder, what am I doing wrong? So they observe instead of participating, consume instead of expressing. This is not laziness. It is self-protection. They are not antisocial. They are overstimulated. Invisibility feels safer than performing a version of themselves they don't trust. Here's what people misunderstand. Social anxiety is not weakness. It is sensitivity without safety. These individuals are deeply perceptive, emotionally intelligent, highly aware. Their strength isn't loud. It's regulated. They don't dominate rooms. They stabilize them. When they stop fighting who they are, their silence becomes grounding, not limiting. Healing doesn't mean becoming confident. It means becoming comfortable. Comfortable with pauses, with imperfect responses, with being seen selectively. People with social anxiety don't need transformation. They need permission. Permission to exist without performing, to speak without rehearsing, to be present without monitoring. The goal isn't visibility, it's alignment. When authenticity feels safer than hiding, they don't disappear. They show up quietly, honestly, on their own terms, and that is real freedom. Some people are loud to survive. Others are quiet to stay intact. Social anxiety isn't a flaw. It is a nervous system shaped by experience, learning how to protect what matters. In a world obsessed with being seen, choosing presence over performance is a quiet rebellion, and sometimes the strongest people in the room are the ones saying the least.